Welcome back to the channel. We're back in our Avatar Commander deck profile with Bumi Unleashed. For Joy, a red and a green, you get a 5/4 with Trample, where when Bumi enters, Earthbend 4. When Bumi deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control, and after this phase, there's an initial combat phase. Only land creatures you control can attack during the additional combat phase. Thankfully, we do have some ways to make Boomy into a land and have a whole bunch of more land creatures thanks to the earthbending abilities. Ashaya makes Boomy into a land, so that could potentially give us that infinite combos because Boomy keeps dealing combat damage. But overall, what we're going for with this deck is getting a whole bunch of lands onto the battlefield, earthbending a whole bunch of lands. This way, all those lands could then attack our opponent and potentially get us a win. We have a bunch of other ways to get those extra combat spells on top of that as well. This way, we're not only attacking with them, also you're untapping all lands you control. Each combat phase that Boomy is able to deal the damage. And he's a 5/4 with Trample, so not that hard for him to do the damage in the first place. Um, but that's just the general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. Starting us off, we have an Amulet of Vigor, making sure that our lands don't come in tapped. We want to make sure we could use them the turn they come down. Especially if, like, I don't know, we're using to attack our opponents with. Crucible of Worlds, in order to make sure we play our lands from our graveyard, we sacrificing our lands for our earthbending, especially when they're earthbending lands. But sometimes you don't always have an earthbending land, so you need a land to sacrifice for something. So this allows us to play it at the graveyard either way. Lightning Grease, Swift Foot Boots, both allow us to attack the turn our creatures come down. Soul Ring for that additional mana. And Zern Orb in order to sacrifice our earthbending lands. This way we get some additional landfall abilities to turn they come down as well. For our creature, we have Entourage Quake Mole. For 2, a red and a green, and 8/4, where whenever Entourage becomes blocked, untap each creature you control. Additional combat phase. That includes Entourage. He does have to be blocked each time, but you can pay 7 mana to make sure that he is blocked. Not that hard to do, especially if we're getting additional combat phases. Ashaya, Soul the Wild. Like I said, this could potentially give Boomy that infinite combat phases. Also makes so everything we control is a force, so that everything other than everything still untaps during our during our extra combat phase for Boomy's extra combat phase. Avatar Kyoshi Earthbender. Really a boring name for that one. They could have done better. At the beginning of combat, your turn, Earthbend 8, untap that land. This way you could still use it for mana and attacking the same turn. Does still have the summoning sickness, so that's a little bit something you have to worry about. She does have hexproof during your turn, but really just here for earthbending. Azusa, Lost but Seeking, making sure we get some additional lands, more things to untap, more ways to make sure we're getting those extra combat phases that much earlier. Badger Mole, creatures you control +1/+1 counters on them have trample. The lands that were earthbending are going to have +1/+1 counters on them and counters creatures. So that's making sure that they deal our combat damage. And once creature enters Earthbend 2, Badger Mole enters Earthbend 1, another land creature get there. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. That means that when we're tapping our land creatures that we Earthbending, that helps them out. Bristly Bill, Spine Sour, making so that we could buff up our land creatures that much more, or potentially just buff up Boomy that much more. This way he could deal out commander damage. Boomy, Eclectic Earthbender. Enters, put 2/1/1 counters on each land creature you control. And when Boomy enters Earthbend 1, when Boomy attacks, put 2/1/1 counters. Enters Earthbend 1. Giving us another land creature, giving us that many more powerful lands. Dryad Arbor, another forest land creature. Let's see it. Earthbending Student, Earthbend 2, giving us another land creature, and land creatures control of Vigilance. Allowing them to attack and not have to worry about being tapped, because then we could tap them for mana at a later time. Embodiment of Fury, lands you control have trample. I see it, so you can deal damage rather than just getting blocked by 1/1s. However, land you control enters the battlefield under your control, you may have that land become a 3/3 elemental with haste. That's still land, but still, having a 3/3 to swing in with help us out with Pumi's ability, especially. Embodiment of Insight, Vigilance land, creatures you control have Vigilance. We really like them to have the Vigilance so we can actually use our lands for mana as well. However, land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target land you control become 3/3 elemental with haste. Same as Embodiment of Fury, essentially. Haru, Hidden Talent, another ally you control enters Earthbend 1. creating our land into another creature. We like to see it. Only 2 mana this time. Kodama the West Tree, making so our lands with those +1/+1 counters on them have that trample, so we could deal combat damage, and also gain some additional lands for a later time. Lowe's Cobra for some additional mana. This way, when our creatures die during combat, they come back. We get that additional mana. I mean, like, we still have to use it during that combat. That's the only thing. So, like, be careful. Morag, Fury of Akum. If our lands die during combat, we get an initial combat phase, especially because of the way Earthbending works. They just keep getting stronger. Omnath, Locust of Rage. Land enters battlefield under control 5/5 elemental creature token. Another elemental you control dies, deal 3 damage to any target. We're having a lot of lands, so just like to see it. Oracle of Moldiah, allowing you additional land every turn, allowing you that many more cards, that many more lands to attack with. Ramanap Excavator, lands from our graveyard. We said it with Crystal Worlds. Really good ability with the deck, especially because we have a lot of ways to sacrifice lands. Sylvan Advocate, as long as you control 6 or more lands, not that hard to do with this deck. This and other land creatures you control get +2/+2. Really like to see our land creatures bumped up just a little bit. Sylvan Safekeeper, another way to sacrifice our lands so our Earthbending lands can come back for additional use. And also a little bit of Hexproof, never hurts anyone, except our opponent's game plan. Tanuk Memorial Ensign, another way to benefit from landfall abilities, dealing some damage, drawing some cards. Tough Earthbending Master. Land you control enters, get an experience counter. You got a lot of experience counters. Whenever you attack, Earthbend X, where X number of experience counters you have. It's going to be a lot of experience counters. That's going to be a powerful land. Top Grace Earthbender enters Earthbend X, where X is the mana spent caster. Only 4, which is in the command zone that just keep getting stronger. And land creatures you control double strike, making sure we're really finishing off our opponent this turn. Top Blind Bandit, Earthbend 2, getting another land creature. Toss power equal to the number of +1/+1 counter on lands you control. May even just be a 2/3 if she's like the only one who Earthbended, but not that hard to get her a lot stronger. And Wayward Swordtooth for another land. For our enchantments, we have Aggravated Assault. Bumi Unleashed, the way he works is when he does come out to play, untap all lands you control, not all land creatures. So we use that 5 mana from our untapped lands in order to get an initial combat phase, have Bumi attack again, and keep on untapping our lands and getting more combat phases. Earth Surge, each land you control gets +2/+2, and as long as it's a creature, we like to stat boost on our land creatures so we can keep on swinging with them without the worry. Exploration for some additional lands. Garrick's Uprising, give our lands trample, so we can actually have ways to deal some damage. Spelunking, I'll make sure our lands counter untapped. And Sylvan Library, because we want to make sure that we could get Aggravated Assault out as soon as possible. Like, not soon enough where I'm running, like, Gamble or anything, but enough, like, where we could win a game pretty easily. Beast Within for some removal. Chaos Warp, get rid of our opponent's worst thing, give them their best thing. Crop Rotation, or sacrifice our lands, or get a new land. Potentially like Yavimaya or something. Cycle of Renewal. This is the one I was mentioning a couple videos ago. Sacrifice land, get 2 new lands. Enter the battlefield tapped, but it's at instant speed. Deflecting Swat, in order to redirect something from Bumi into like something else that wouldn't hurt us as much. Because we want our infinite combat phases. And this Restoration, and Haro, same thing as Cycle of Renewal. Sacrifice our Earthbending land, get that land back, and get 2 or 3 more ones, depending on what. Heroic Intervention for some extra protection. Redirect Lightning, same thing as Deflecting Spot. Rocky Rebuke, target creature control deals damage equal to its power target creature and opponent controls. Yeah, just, I like to see it. Rolling Regrowth, another way to use the Endless Restoration effect. And Untimely Malfunction for same as Redirect Lightning or Deflecting Spot. Awaken the Woods, and we're going to punch more land creatures that may more things to untap or swing in with. Blasphemous Attack for board wipe. Cultivate for some extra ramp. Earth Rumble for Earthbending 2, getting you additional land creature. So 1 target creature control fights target creature and opponent controls. Farseek for some ramp. Jessica's Will for some ramp plus some draw power. Go damage reach, Nature's Lore, both sources ramp. Size makes sense. Look at top X cards of your library or X number of lands you control, which is going to be a whole bunch, potentially our whole deck. Reveal a creature or land card from among them, put into hand, rest on the bottom. From the Reclamation, like I said, we're going to be sacrificing a bunch of lands, so potentially getting them all back. It's going to be nice. Sylvan Awakening, in order to give our land creatures indestructible, and they can attack as well. They become 2/2s to start, rather than 0/0s to start, so that if you can't get those +1/+1 counters on them, you still have a way to win. And then 3 visits for some additional ramp. Overall, I think Bumi's going to be a really fun commander. Excited to see like what he could do. If you guys have a different way you'd run the deck, leave it down there in the comment section. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.